So I'm going to give you guys the abbreviated versions of these other ways to raise money, just like in the, trying to be timely here, not take up too much of your time. So anything that we don't cover in the text, all the little nitty gritty details about these, you won't be responsible for. I'm kind of more just worried about you being aware of what they are and know why a firm would use it. What's the benefit of this type of financing. So the first one here is what's called a seasoned, or sometimes you'll see it called a secondary equity offering. It's abbreviated SEO. So we have IPOs and SEOs. IPOs is when you go for the first time. SEOs is anytime you go after that, right? And so you got to think about when Coke went public, that was years ago. Coke has issued more stock since Coke went public. Well, every time it goes back to the market and sells more stock, that is an SEO. Now be careful. It's a great trick question for students. You ask the student, okay, do IPOs happen in the primary or secondary market? And they say primary, which is correct. And then you ask them, do SEOs happen in the primary or secondary market? And they're like, secondary, because you asked me, an opposite thing, so I gave you an opposite answer. Wrong. They both happen in the primary market because both of them allow a firm to raise funds. So don't fall for that trick on the exam. So SEO is the sale of additional shares of stock by a public company after its initial public offering. So basically, we want to raise more money. We go out and we sell more stock. Now, this is a negative signal. Okay? And the book puts it beautifully. I always frame it as you never want to invite people to a good party where there's already lots of good food and everything, right? You want to keep it all for yourself, but you do want to invite them to the party that sucks and you need some more food. You never want to share good things. You only want to share losses. And so when a company issues new stock, it's telling the firm, or it's telling shareholders hey guys, why don't you come in so we can share these losses in the future? Oh, my bad. Did I say we're going to have losses? Oh, no. Right? Why would a firm sell stock if they expect good times in the future? Why would they want to share profits? They don't. The book puts it as the announcement of a new stock offering by a mature firm is often taken as a negative signal. If the firm's prospects were good, management would not want to issue new stock and thus share the rosy future with new stockholders. Therefore, the announcement of a new offering is taken as bad news. Simple as that. Companies don't like to issue new stock. It's expensive, it's costly, and it sends a bad signal. Now, a lot of times that when we have these seasoned equity offerings, you'll also have what's called a rights offering, or sometimes it's called a preemptive rights offering. Now, a preemptive right offering is to prevent dilution, meaning that if I'm going to go out and sell new stock, that's going to dilute the ownership of my current shareholders. In order to help them not be diluted, what a firm will do is it will do a rights offering. It says it occurs when a corporation sells a new issue of common stock to its existing shareholders. Each shareholder receives a certificate called a stock purchase right, giving the stockholder the option to purchase a specific number of new shares. That way, if they owned 5% of the firm before, you basically let them have the option to purchase the stock at a fair price and maintain their, like in this example, 5% ownership. They don't have to, but it allows them the opportunity to do so. And so you'll do this too at a pretty low price because you're giving them that benefit, right? And you're taking away some of their ownership by selling more shares. So to help them out and to prevent them from getting diluted, you give them this rights offering. So that's very, very common with seasoned equity offerings. That's the first one you need to know about. Second one is a shelf registration. So shelf registration, kind of think of it as getting pre-approved to issue stock. So basically, it says when companies file a master registration statement and then updates it with a short firm statement just before an offering. New securities are put on the shelf and then later are sold when cash is needed and market conditions are favorable. Now remember, if not, I have at least 20 days I have to wait between a registration and when I can, actually start selling the stock. That sucks. What if I want to sell it now? Well, with a shelf registration, you've pre-fill out the paperwork, you get it approved by the SEC, and then I always imagine like a bookshelf, and then I imagine that I put the stock on the shelf, and then whenever I'm actually ready to sell it, I just go grab the stock off the shelf and I sell it. A company could decide by 10 a.m. that it wants to sell stock that day, and by noon it could be sold. So that is a big, big, big advantage. Often these will often have lower flotation costs also, just because I don't have to go through the lengthy process every time that I want to sell stock. And so firms like this, because it's cheaper and it's quick, I have an extreme amount of control over the timing of when I want to issue compared to like the normal process that I have to go through. So I'll actually split this into 3 videos. I'll do 2 per video. So I'll do private placements and securitization in the next video.